of health. Good afternoon and welcome to this exciting and interactive discussion on taking forward the Transformative Education Summit Gender-Related Commitments on Education and Health Strategies for Success. I'm your moderator, Remy Shawa. So ideally you would clap, but because you're eating. Thank you. I'm with UNESCO in the Regional Office for Southern Africa, supporting Eastern Southern Africa on education for health and well-being. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to this session today. This event is co-organized by UNESCO and FAWE. We'll hear from our distinguished panelists on their experiences over the last year, what they've observed firsthand, and what responses they've put in place. Through this dialogue, we'll learn from each other about the challenges first, but also how tangible actions can help to change and take forward the Transformative Education Summit recommendations. The TES, or Transforming Education Summit, was convened by the UN Secretary General, and it was a pivotal moment that brought together 130 countries to make commitments on really revamping the education system, and not just focusing on academics, but emphasizing health education, school safety, and comprehensive sexuality education. And I'm going to invite the different speakers that we have today, and I hope that by me giving that introduction, they've finished their food. Let me start by welcoming to the stage Reverend Jane Nganga, who heads the Kenya chapter of the International Network of Religious Leaders Personally Affected or Living with HIV in Orella. Let's give her a round of applause for those who can. Thank you. I'd also like to invite Mr. Joshua Mtali, who is a curriculum specialist at the Malawi Institute of Education. A round of applause, please. Let me also welcome Mr. Kosten Kanchele, who is an education activist and executive director of FAWE Zambia. A round of applause, please. It is also my privilege to invite Ms. Andrienne, who is a youth activist and member of the SDG for Youth and Student Network. A round of applause. And last but not least, Ms. Lucy, who is an O3, Our Rights, Our Lives, Our Future ambassador for Kenya, dedicated to the fight against gender-based violence. A round of applause, please. I will transition into French now. I'm joking. There is translation for French and English. 8 is English, 15 is French. Okay, so on the translation gadgets, 8 is English and 15 is French. Il y a translation, s'il vous plaît, 8 pour anglais, 10, 15, 13, 15 pour français. All right. To kickstart and set the scene, I ask my colleague Marie-France from UNESCO Regional Office for East Africa, based here in Nairobi, to come and tell us a little bit more about Transforming Education Summit's gender-related commitments. Let's give her a round of applause. Can I take your mic? 1, 2. 1, 2, yeah.
Good afternoon, hello. Yes, my name is Marie-France Akblohins, and I work for the UNESCO Regional Office with Remy Shawa, based here in Nairobi. So the Transforming Education Summit, convened by UN Secretary General Guterres in September last year, was really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for key stakeholders to map new paths of education. More than 130 countries, as we've already heard, including 41 countries in Africa, committed to reboot their education system and youth networks. On behalf of UNESCO, I would also make use of this opportunity to thank the FAWE Forum for their close engagement in helping UNESCO to make this platform operational. Thank you, Martha. So just 2 weeks ago, at the UNESCO's General Conference in Paris, the global platform launched its first major output, which is the Global Accountability Dashboard. This dashboard monitors the progress of 193 countries against key indicators on gender transformative education, including gender transformative and including learning spaces, as well as, among other, transformative curricula, teaching and learning materials, as well as pedagogies, among other areas. It highlights transformative initiatives by the Transforming Education Summit so that countries and organizations across the world are able to learn from each other. Because as we all know, best practices, knowledge sharing among different groups, organizations is great. I strongly encourage you to visit the dashboard, which is hosted on the Populations Council Evidence for Gender and Education resource website. So this is very much a living dashboard. We hope to get feedback and stay in communication with you. So this dashboard is basically fed by the education and gender community, and we really need your input so that it is a lively document. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, my friends, for giving us an overview on the Transforming Education Summit and the gender-related commitments. We'll dive into the discussion now. So this is going to be an informal discussion and dialogue, and please just know that you will have an opportunity as well to be able to chime in. I'd like to start with you, Reverend Nen. We know, for instance, that religious leaders are uniquely placed to engage communities in discussions about gender equality, gender norms, and inclusive education. Can you share an example of how you've helped overcome resistance and successfully contributed to challenging harmful gender norms and transforming education? What are some of the factors that you believe were key to your success?
Thank you so much for that question, and it's a pleasure to be in this panel. I am a pastor, yes, but also a teacher by profession, and we are taught that when there's distraction, you should just wait until it's over so that you can start. And I'm more wondering, how do I stand between you and your lunch? But I hope that you will engage with us even as you eat. And we will have very good discussions. So religious leaders do play a very critical role in informing or dealing with some of the challenges at the community level. And of course, some of them looking at issues of gender inequalities, looking at the challenge of harmful practices and harmful gender norms. And the role of the religious leaders can never be downplayed. However, we've had, lots of challenges in engaging faith leaders in this space and really bringing them on board to see the need to engage and to challenge some of these issues. But to overcome this resistance, we've been able to find a way of engagement that really brings the religious leaders to a point where they feel they have an obligation and an opportunity to engage at that level. And one of the ways we have done as a network is to constantly engage in theological reflection around issues of harmful gender norms, issues on transforming educational practices, and really engaging on even issues as sexual and reproductive health. And what has happened is that when we have had to do theological reflections and really get texts that speak to these issues, then it has become so easy for us to engage in even such difficult subjects. And it has become also very easy for faith leaders to engage and be involved in empowering not only the adolescents and young people, but also reaching out to parents and guardians and also the community at large. So as a network, just to give an example, we have been able to, over time, collect some of the questions that young people are asking. Questions around, for example, sexual and reproductive health, questions around harmful gender norms and such. And over time, we have collected about 1,000. Right now, we could be going to 2,000 questions. And we use these questions and engage with the top leadership within the faith settings and ask them, how do we help our young people navigate as they ask these kind of questions? And as a result, that space has become now easy to work in and really engage. And the other thing that we have done in order to overcome some of even the resistance that has come is to also work with chaplains within the institutions of learning. For the last, I think now about a year and a half, we have been able to reach out and train 1,580 chaplains who are part of the school system. And because they have more or less a day-to-day engagement with young people, then they are able to support them. They are able to deal with some of the challenges. For example, the triple threat, which has become such a key challenge in especially creating an inequality for girls to continue accessing education. And through the training of these chaplains, for the last 1 year, we have been able to reach to over 21,000 learners through that kind of engagement. And therefore, that has really worked and supported our work. So some of the key success factors that have helped us, one is the empowerment of faith leaders, the empowerment of chaplains. That has been very critical. Number two has been the theological reflection around the issues and digging into scriptures and just ensuring that faith leaders are speaking from a perspective they understand. Then number three has been collaborations. Having a united front has also been quite a key thing because we cannot work as faith leaders alone. So working with the education sector, working with other community leaders, working with UNESCO. We have been working very closely, for example, with UNESCO Kenya office and other NGOs that are also, providing materials and engaging in that area. And the other final success factor has been the credibility and trust that religious leaders, chaplains have both at the community level, but also within the school setting. And then the final one, as I stop, is just having that cultural sensitivity. That has also been a key success factor in the work we are doing. Because when we started engaging and we realized, for example, some of the terminologies may not be, palatable at the community level, we have been able to change that and and tailor the messages so that there is respect and there is also the taking into consideration the cultural context and ensuring that the community has greater acceptance of what we are doing. So I want to stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Jane. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much. Really impressive to hear what you're doing. And I was caught actually by when you said that you've collected almost close to 2,000 questions that adolescents and young people ask about their health, their well-being, and all these issues, which I think is critical in informing programming. If I move to Malawi, and Joshua, if you could speak to the context of Malawi. In the lead up to the Transforming Education Summit, the government of Malawi committed to develop integrated minimum priority package to ensure learners' health and safety, and develop their empathy, compassion, and communication skills. Can you tell us how your institute is taking forward this promise and working through the curriculum to shift harmful gender norms and promote healthy relationships through a transformative approach?
Thank you so much, Remy. Thank you, UNESCO. Thank you, FAWE, for having me here. You forgive my pronunciation. I come from a region in my country where they always tease us that we speak in capital letters. So I hope my pronunciation is not in capital letters. Specifically, Malawi Institute of Education is a curriculum center, as the Leme has put it. So we develop curriculum for primary, secondary, and teacher education. You all can agree that curriculum is one of the most important tools if you are to bring forth different agendas in a country. So as an institute, how we are taking forward the elements of learners' health, safety, empathy, compassion, and communication skills. One critical aspect is where we, as a country, through Malawi Institute of Education, and been mentioned, life skills is a major carrier for that. So we are providing this subject from Standard 2 to Standard 8. And we have packaged in a way that from Standard 2, you'll find that there are relevant topics that you can find. For example, relationships is there, communication is there, hygiene, safety. That is Standard 2. And then as you are also moving up to Standard 8, you find that we have also packaged in a way that you find these similar topics, but the packaging will be different. So you can see that the curriculum is responding to this by making sure that learners are learning from a tender age on issues of safety, issues of communication, issues of relationships. So these are all ably packaged in the curriculum. Also, apart from that, as an institute, we have made it possible with the Ministry of Education, where we believe that if the curriculum is to be able to be implemented with the grassroots, teachers are supposed to understand the design of the curriculum. So you find that in our materials, for example, when you open the teacher guide, the preamble pages ably guide teachers to say, okay, what type of curriculum are you following? For example, at the moment we're following outcome-based, you find that they'll say, okay, if you are teaching life skills, what type of competences should you bring out in learners? What about values? What about attitudes? So even these preamble pages are replete with the Leme talked about transformative approach, so pedagogy. So I've also embedded those things so that teachers are able to understand the same. But we know that for us to achieve this noble cause, we cannot work in isolation. So as my colleague here talked about collaboration, as an institute, we also believe we should work with different partners. For example, yesterday Wesley Eble talked about how we're working with FAWE. He talked about GLP, how MI participated in the development of the same, and how they have reached out to teacher training institutions. Apart from FAWE, for example, we also work with UNESCO. Especially on UNESCO, I want to pronounce that CSC, Comprehensive Society Education, we have trained primary education advisors. We believe these are very critical as monitors who are monitoring teachers. So we have helped them understand what is CSC, what are the characteristics of CSC, so that if these understand, then they can reach out to teachers. And we trained about 500 plus primary education advisors. I can report that these are about 272 of them reached out to teachers as using cascade model, where they have trained 13,500 teachers in the respective zones. We have also done a curriculum audit. In my country, we are about to start curriculum review for primary, secondary, and teacher education. So what we have done is, we have done curriculum audit where we want to identify gaps that are in the curriculum. This was supported by UNESCO. And I can reveal we use the International Technical Guidelines for Sexuality Education as a benchmark so that we can see, okay, what are the weaknesses that we're providing if we are to achieve issues of safety, learners where they develop advanced communication skills, for example, etc. So we have come up with a very comprehensive report. We presented this report to Ministry of Education officials, directors. We believe that when we start developing the materials. We are ready. We can bring in things that we believe that are going to help us. We have also done literature review. 10 countries. All this is in preparation to say how best do we make our curriculum responsive to the needs of the society. I believe we're going to do that. We have also, as a government, through Malawi Education Reform Program, we are training leaders, all leaders of primary school education. And in this training, we have put specifically materials where we have embedded in girl child, gender. We're training institutions to say, okay, make your environment safe for a girl child so that we retain them in schools. However, much as we have done this, I believe there are things that we need to reflect on and which we need to improve. For example, I believe especially training critical stakeholders so that we move holistically together. We also need to reach out to many teachers so that they can understand this cause. Even in some curriculum sessions, they need to understand this. I believe also we need to work on assessment issue. Assessment at the moment we are just assessing through pen and paper. We need to make assessment holistic so that we can improve. Thank you, Remy.
Thank you so much, Joshua. Let's give him a round of applause for sharing that. Let me move to Costin, who comes from the best country on earth, from Zambia. Costin, the Transforming Education Summit Youth Declaration. Sorry, Costin. Costin, the Transforming Education Summit's call to action on advancing gender equality makes a powerful call for ensuring safe, gender transformative and inclusive learning spaces, including addressing school-related gender-based violence. What strategies or interventions have shown promise in engaging not just students, but the entire community to address gender-based violence that happens in and around schools?
Thank you so much, Remy, for that question. And good afternoon, colleagues. I hope you are enjoying your lunch. I think eating and listening are two difficult tasks, especially when we are doing them simultaneously. Let me just give a bit of background. In Zambia, the gender parity index at secondary school level is standing at 0.94, meaning that we have more boys in secondary school than girls. So the government of the Republic of Zambia, with support from the World Bank, came up with a project. The bigger project is called GEWEL, which is Girls' Education and Women Empowerment with Livelihoods. So one of the legs under this big project is one called Keeping Girls in School, which is being implemented by the Ministry of Education. But when they implemented for about 3 years, they realized that girls who were being supported, those girls from low-income families, were dropping out of school despite the financial support from the project. At this point, this is when they decided to consult, and this is how now Psych Health, Health Focus of South Africa, and FAWE are coming in as consultants to offer a solution why girls are dropping out of school. But prior to that, the ministry did a rapid assessment. And from that rapid assessment, they noted that actually one of the factors why girls were dropping out of school was because of school-related gender-based violence. So the project that we are piloting now, which is called Empowerment Pilot, is trying to eliminate gender-based violence in school. Now the question is, how are we doing it? We are piloting in 40 schools across the country, and it involved developing a curriculum. This curricula is being implemented by 3 structures. The first structure is a structure of learners, which is called safe spaces. This is where learners, boys and girls, are in different spaces. We have a safe space for boys and a safe space for girls. And we have a specific curriculum for that. Then we have also another structure which is basically for teachers, all teachers in the school, including the head teacher. And we have also a curriculum for that. The third structure is a structure for parents, for guardians, and other community members, which involve the youths, the religious leaders, traditional leaders, as one group. It has got also its own curricula. So we have identified 2 teachers per school, whom we have trained as teacher mentors, who are link pins, who are ensuring that all these structures, they do meet weekly, so that they get information, they get knowledge about gender-based violence, gender issues, and many other topics. So these structures, they do meet once in a week. Like I said, this is a pilot which started at the beginning of this year and is ending the first month of next year. So far, monitoring by the World Bank and the Ministry of Education, including ourselves, has indicated that there's an improvement in terms of retention of the girls who are on KGS. They have remained in school, and that also gender relations in the school are now positive. There are certain things that communities were doing, for example, use of language and other things that they were doing, which according to them, they didn't know that it was gender-based violence, but because of this pilot project, all those things are not happening. So this has also improved retention of girls in school in terms of even class attendance. So we are hopeful that once the final evaluation is done, which will be done at the end of January, that the results will be positive and that we shall be able to scale up this pilot project to all the schools in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Thank you so much, Costin. And now I come to the young people on the panel. The Transforming Education Summit's Youth Declaration makes a powerful call for investment in gender transformative education to create a present and future that is feminist, equitable, and free from harmful gender stereotypes, as well as the provision of quality CSE. We won't be able to achieve this without dialogue. So my question to you is, what strategies or initiatives have you found effective in engaging your generation in conversations about gender equality? We'll start with Lucy, and then we'll go to Andrian.
Or you can hear me. When it comes to gender equality, I don't think we can be able to achieve gender equality, not unless everyone is given an equal chance. Every girl is taken to school, and girls are not just seen as important when it comes to dowry provision. When it comes to educating the youth, the most important thing is getting the youths where they are. And where are the youths? The youths are in the digital platforms. So we are probably supposed to use the digital platforms to educate the youths when it comes to gender equality and sexual reproductive health. Through using the digital platforms, we are able to get to a very large number and educating them. We are also able to use cinemas where we come and create visual art through where people are supposed to watch some sort of like a movie, and through watching that, they are able to learn about sexual reproductive health. And also, for example, when it comes to the O3 program, we do conduct workshops in tertiary institutions, and in these workshops we are able to educate people, because we have people in higher learning institutions, they are undergoing sexual and gender-based violence, and they cannot be able to tell that that is gender-based violence they are undergoing. So in these workshops we are able to educate them on how to identify and respond to gender-based violence, and not just the young people, but also people who are around that area. That includes the administrators and even the custodians. And also, I think it's important because when it comes to sexual reproductive health, yes, we can take all the time to educate the young people about these. However, there are so many barriers, and the main barrier is the social and cultural norms. And how are we able to beat around these cultural norms that are harmful or that put girls in harm. Number one, I think, is collaborating with the religious leaders, because when it comes to the African continent, the religious leaders are very influential. The media as well. The media is very important because it shapes our perspectives. And also, I think it's important to collaborate with the government so that these things can be included in the school curriculum. However, for example, I can give an example with Kenya. We have, in the school curriculum, we are taught about HIV and AIDS from a very tender age. I think from standard 1, you also learn about HIV and AIDS in high school and also in universities. But you still find that HIV infection is very high. So I think it's also important to include parents when it comes to this, because these things also depend with stages. Because when it comes to a girl who is like very young, a 5-year-old girl, you can be able to talk to her about
We wrote the youth declaration and we made 21 commitments last year. Then I realized there's a need to bring the youth declaration back home and actualize on the commitments. So I organized a STEM campaign for girls where we were giving the girls scholarships. These are girls from low-income backgrounds to take up any course after high school. So we visited different high schools, especially in the slum areas. But one question that I was being asked, you are educating the girl child, yes, and we understand that there's a need for girls to be educated, especially in marginalized areas. But don't you think education is important for all? So a lot of young people want to be involved in initiatives that are gender inclusive. A lot of people say that we are advocating for girls only, which is a bit not true, because not all girls are being educated, but they want to see equal opportunities being distributed to all genders. For me, this is true feminism, because a true feminist will advocate for equal opportunities for both genders to equally coexist. Another strategy that has seemed to work is the youth advisory boards. A lot of youth advisory boards, such as the one in UNFPA. UNESCO has the SDG4 Youth Network, where young people can actively take part in leading the change that they want to see in their communities. I'd advise that a lot of companies that actually want to see impactful change to include the young people, because we know what we want to see in our communities. And those are the two strategies that are really working in our communities.
Thank you. Let's clap for both Andrienne and Lucy for their interventions. Thank you. Now we're going to open up the floor for just some quick reflections. We have a few minutes remaining, but please, if you have any comment or question that you want to ask, I have a question for the audience. We've talked about religious leaders, teachers, curriculum developers, we've talked about parents, young people, the media. Are we missing someone else? Are we missing a different group? What are your experiences in your country or regions? So the floor is open. Any questions, comments, concerns, contradictions, queries? All right, yes, is there a roving mic? No, you don't need a mic. Okay, there's translation though.
Or non-governmental organizations in your discussion.
The mic behind you.
Thank you. Sorry I came in late, so I don't know what has been said before I came in, but from where I continued with you people, I don't know if you've spoken about non-governmental organizations or civil society organizations, because those are the organizations that work at the community level. So when you talk about taking forward the TES gender-related commitments on education and school health, strategies for success, we also need to know how to take that to the remote areas in our various societies, because such things should not end. Like you were talking about the media, how many people in the rural area can afford connectivity, number one? How many of them have energy, number two? So there's a lot to go with it. Bridging the connectivity divide, number one, and also bridging the energy divide by investing in green energy. I think I will stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
Yeah, thank you very much, presenters. Mauda Kamaten Mujisha. I'm from Uganda, but I've been in academia as a vice chancellor, retired. And my question goes to youth, especially from this lady in the middle where you started from. We are seeing more girls are now being empowered and are taking the central stage. The boy child is remaining behind in decision making, even in taking responsibility. And now you can see it, even the age of marriage has shifted. Very many men don't want to be committed in having families. And it is becoming a challenge now, because our girls now have been empowered, society, the religious leader, you have said it, and even from birth, because now girls are seeing mentors coming on space. What are we going to do to change the paradigm shift to make sure also the boy child comes on? Because what are the girls? They need also sensible men to marry them, to establish a family. So I think it is, I'm also in the church, by the way. So I'm speaking from a informed point of view. Even in the university now, it is the boy child who are failing exams compared to girls. You check those dropout rate is more in
that they are creating in changing the tide. Number two, we need to invest in fostering communities and stakeholder engagement. And number three, we need to invest in documentation and learning so that the lessons that are being learned, we can have EBIs that can be replicated in other situations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lemi, and thank you, colleagues. In my conclusion, I want also thank Prof. She raised a critical point where she talked about grassroots engagement through CBOs. So I thought that even as the curriculum center, we really need to see how best we can work with the grassroots level so that they're able to understand the curriculum we have in a simple way, not in a technical way, so that they can also able support its implementation. I thought that was very critical. And she also raised, is it Lucy, she raised a critical aspect of digital platform. As the curriculum center, we have developed, apart from the main curriculum, we have many supplementary materials, ethic club materials, agenda, we have them. I believe these are not digitized. So if we are to reach many people apart from the main curriculum, I think a digital platform is one area. We're not doing very well in this area. Thanks for that. That's a critical point. So thank you so much for those points. I believe elements of learners' health, safety, empathy, compassion are critical issues that the curriculum is supposed to take them on board. Thank you so much, Lemon.
Thank you, Joshua. Costa?
Thank you. My conclusion, I'll try to respond to two concerns that were raised, one on involvement of CSOs and also involvement of boys. From what I said, the three structures that we are using, for example, the community structure, we have ensured that we have equal number of men and women in that community structure, and we have reserved one specific position for a community-based organization member so that the views of CSOs are also represented. And also the school-based structure, which I refer to as safe space. We have actually 50 members of safe spaces. We have 25 boys and we have 25 girls, and these are meeting separately. So as FAWE, we are aware of issues of inclusivity, which we are trying to handle very well. Thank you.
So if we want to achieve quality education, if we want to achieve an education that is inclusive, we need to include all genders. That is making, creating opportunities for everyone. In Kenya, the curriculum is being changed from 844 to another curriculum. And the UNESCO has the commitments. And in Kenya, the youth, we gave our recommendations. So for me, it's more of a call to action for all these agencies, the non-governmental organizations, and the governments to work together. That is the only way we can transform education in Africa. Thank you.
Just to mention something about your question, when it comes to empowering girls, I don't think we are empowering girls and empowering men. However, for example, we were having this discussion in school, and we were talking about what if a girl, a university girl, gets pregnant. I think my last statement would be like, it's very important for the government to be able to provide at least affordable education so that all kids, both boys and girls, can be able to get education, the basic education. And I also think it's very important if we give the youths power. And by power, I mean, yes, you can make policies for us and we are going to enjoy the benefits. But I feel like it's more important if you seat some of the youth's representatives in those policy-making tables. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We've come to the end, and I'd like to invite Stella to come and give us some closing remarks. And as she's walking up here, just to thank the panelists for taking the time and really engaging in this discussion. I think Lucy struck some nerve there at the end, and people wanted to talk more. So let's have this dialogue as we depart.
Thank you very much, Remy. Good afternoon, everyone. I know that on the program it shows Martha Mwezi, the Executive Director of FAWE. I stand here to represent Martha. My name is Stella Ayo Odongo. I work with the Coalition for Good Schools. FAWE is a member of the Coalition for Good Schools, and FAWE has been a thought leader on prevention of violence against children in and through schools, and hence my role here representing Martha. For anything that goes right, please congratulate Martha. For the closing remarks that go wrong, I think I take the responsibility. On behalf of FAWE and on behalf of the entire management and leadership team of FAWE, we want to thank UNESCO, first of all, for the partnership that we have enjoyed over a decade. I can attest to the fact that we have shared resources, we have shared ideas, and the partnership goes beyond just resources, but it is more institutional and beyond individuals, and it goes to develop the girl child. This side event, taking forward the Transforming Education Summit, gender-related commitments on education and health, is just an opportune theme for our conversation today. We've had the panelists, like the moderator mentioned, we have heard from parents, we have heard from religious leaders, we have heard from the youth, we have heard from the teachers, we have heard from government. But I'd like to re-echo the last resounding submission from the youth. And what she said was that you need to work with us, you need to involve us. And I want to add that nothing for them without them. It's high time that we begin to consider the urgency of the people who are affected to be at the table of this policy making, of these conversations. And as FAWE, we are taking this seriously, and we do actually take children and young people being part of the conversations on education. I want to say that FAWE is a member of the Global Partnership on Gender Equity, Gender Equality, in and through education, and we commit to work closely with UNESCO to help ensure that our good practices are reflected and featured on the dashboard. We know that FAWE has a number of good practices, but we commit that we'll continue documenting this and ensuring that they are reflected on and featured on the accountability platform. I'd like to also add that we'll continue supporting your work, the UNESCO's work. We'll continue the partnership and collaboration around the world, and specifically in Africa where we have presence, to ensure that education for health and well-being, particularly in the areas of teenage pregnancy, and we've heard through the 2 days that we've been here, that the only way we can achieve development for the girl child is to ensure that we give them access to education. And as far we are committed to doing that, and we believe that our partnership and collaboration with UNESCO is going to take this further. I'd like to end with a quote and a short story. Many of you may know this, but I'll just like to end with that. There's a story that is told about a partnership that was established between two animals, a hen and a pig, and they decided that they were going to go into a partnership to start up a restaurant. So the hen brought up the idea and said, you work with the resources that you have. So the pig said, and the hen said, me, I'll bring the eggs, for you, you bring the pork. Now, for pig did not know that bringing the pork meant laying down his life for the restaurant to survive. And hen would continue living on this. The partnership and collaboration we have with UNESCO goes beyond exploitation. It's a mutual partnership, mutual commitment, and we trust and believe that we bring our resources on the table and we do not exploit each other. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Stella, for those powerful remarks. Indeed, it's a partnership of two hens. All right, I'll just, in ending, would like to reiterate that now that we've had this dialogue, let us continue the dialogue. And the Global Platform for Gender Equality Accountability dashboard is launched. We also strongly encourage countries and organizations to share your transformative actions with us so that we can feature them on the dashboard, and other countries and settings can benefit from them. We have some cards and some resources if they're not here at our booth downstairs, which you can read more about this. And I'd also like to thank these three people, Beverly from FAWE, I don't know if she's in the room, Elspeth, who's standing there from UNESCO, and Marie-France for organizing this and coordinating everything. Thank you so much, colleagues. And thank you to the panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to go down to the main session. Thank you.